Important message from Miss Kamala Harris.
Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't.
There you go. There you have it. There you have it, guys. Okay? She's majestic. She's special. She's amazing. And if you don't think so, you're racist. Now, I don't know if you're racist to black people or Indian people, okay? But one of the two, you will be branded as racist towards, okay? So prepare for that if you're against this incredible lady who now the media is saying is all intelligent and smart, and Trump is scared of debating her, okay? That's what we're talking about today, folks. We're talking about Kamala Harris. Oh, let me get to it. You think I wasn't going to clap over that lady? You crazy. Get out of here. We're talking about Kamala Harris, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, just tearing Kamala Harris down. The thing about it is they've always felt this way about Kamala Harris. Tucker Carlson, way longer than Joe Rogan. Tucker Carlson has been talking about Kamala Harris for a very long time. But Joe Rogan hits the nail on the head when it comes to certain topics. And this is one of them. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of clips. Let's just buckle right in. This is the first one. Let's set the tone for this video.
Kamala looking like she's got some sort of like secret gun held to her head to where she can't even her sentences just go round and round.
They're
I'm like,
great.
She makes
it's about the passage of time. It's about time and passing time.
It's not
and that's
fun.
why we have watches. We have watches because otherwise, how would you know how much time has passed? Time is a fleeting time type thing that only happens when time passes. If you just sit there, so let's be good to each other with time.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That's better than hers. That's better than her writing.
Yeah, that's way
that
better
lady
than
just
hers.
wings it. She's just winging it.
No, do you think she wings it, or do you think that she's? I
deer in
think
the headlights.
she looks scared.
She should be scared.
She looks absolutely petrified.
She should be scared that they don't dig up her record and find out what she actually has done.
Kamala looking like she's...
That is so true. That is so true. And you know what? I was going to show a different clip after that, but I'm just going to go straight to what Joe's talking about. Let's pull that up real quick. What she has done. And this is the thing. It's crazy that she's done these type of things. And now she's being positioned to the black community like, look, it's a female Barack Obama. Look at that. Yes, we can. Remember that? Huh? Remember that? You want to chant that with me? It's absolutely crazy. And then we're going to get into a little bit of how she doesn't really have any African-American roots. She doesn't really have that type of experience. I'm going to break it down because my family, at least my dad's side, is from Jamaica. I understand how this works. I get it completely. Let's just play this first. This is the type of stuff that she's done.
I thought Harris had a real shot, and she sunk Harris's ship. That's exactly what happened. I mean, if you look at there's a direct correlation between where Harris was standing and where she's at now in that debate. You put holes in her boat.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California.
Her whole campaign was based on the premise of being a prosecutor for the people, being the attorney general here in California. You've said you're proud of your record. This is what you have done when you were in a position to make a positive change. Instead, you chose to do otherwise. And I think that speaks loud.
I thought Harris had a real shot. And
a real shot. It's crazy that's how far we've come from Tulsi Gabbard tearing her down in a debate and just axing her chances completely to now we're sitting here. There's rumors that Biden is not doing well, right? I did an episode about this on my other channel. You know, there's phone calls with him. It sounds a lot like AI. We just saw signs of life just today. He wasn't even moving the same way that he used to. And the way he used to move was alarming already. So now there's talk about her becoming the 47th president of the United States. Absolutely ridiculous, especially for all those people that bought Trump clothing that has the 47 on it. Now you're going to be having a hat that says 47. It's Kamala. Oh, no, you're going to have to throw it out. You got to throw it out. You got no choice. And I remember this episode, just to talk about this. I'm going to move on to the next clip. I remember this episode. After that, Joe actually talks about how Kamala Harris also, in that time period, when she was this wild prosecutor, you know, or I'd say ruthless prosecutor, really, she also was scaring single moms into getting their kids into schools under threat of possibly going to jail if you don't get your kids in school. And who are the single moms? I mean, listen, there's single moms of all races and colors, but we're talking about California. When you're saying that in California, you're talking to a large group of, yes, there's white, yes, there's brown, yes, there's Hispanic, but you're talking to a lot of black women. I can't believe, I'm so glad there's black people waking up to Kamala Harris and realizing, because I was saying this before and I sounded like a crazy person. I was like, oh, she's not black. And people were like, you're insane. I was like, what do you mean? Not everybody whose family comes from Jamaica is black. That's not how Jamaica works. Jamaica's not Africa. And even Africa, you can be from Africa and not be black. Like, come on, what are we talking about? Like Myron from Fresh and Fit, he was born in Africa. He's not black, he's brown. And people are like, oh, no, he's actually, no, you don't get it. I'll break it down after this. Let's play this next clip here.
Right. If they move him out, they got to move Kamala Harris out, right? Or they've got to elevate her to the top of the ticket.
Which is
right?
nuts.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well,
no one's, you have to be the nuttiest Democrat. And I know a few. I know this one nutty Democrat that I guess I'm kind of friends with. I see him, I'll say hi. But this motherfucker is a Kamala Harris fan. You know, thank you, Madam Vice President. Like, he's one of those.
How do you get to that point? How do you?
You just completely give in. There's no critical thinking at all, and you're just blue no matter who. Yeah, you ride or die.
Well, that's what I assume that they've looked at the scenarios and they thought to themselves, we can't have Biden step down and put somebody else at the top of the ticket. So we've got to clear the ticket entirely. Right? Because we can't run Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate. No. So, and we certainly can't bring in Newsom, a white dude, you know, to run the top of the ticket and keep her in place, right? That's not an optic they're
also,
willing to put up with.
She's just not valuable in that spot. She doesn't gain confidence that we'll have a great vice president if he kicks the bucket. And, bro, how are they keeping him alive?
Yeah.
What are they giving him, and where do I get it?
Well, she'll be president.
What do I get? What do I get when he's on?
Yeah.
I want to try it. As an able-bodied man of complete control of my cognitive functions, I'd like to know what that f***ing cocktail's like.
I was going to say, the cocktail that they gave him before the State of the Union address, whatever they gave him then, right, that fired him up just long enough to make it through?
Just long enough. Boy, he must have slept for a week after that. I bet...
God.
I bet it's some high-dose stuff, whatever it is, and I bet it feels great.
Yeah, in the moment. And then
This is very interesting because this was from a while ago, this podcast, right? Well, actually, I shouldn't say a while ago. Mike Baker, he's on periodically, but they hit the nail on the head again, and it's funny. They were talking about, you got to be so crazy. And that's the conversation that's happening right now. How crazy is that? The conversation that's happening right now is Kamala Harris running against Trump. A lot of people are speculating that since Obama came out and he did not endorse Kamala, and he said that he has faith that the Democrats are going to come up with a proper process to determine this whole thing, people are speculating that maybe she's not just going to accept, and maybe she's going to there's going to be an open convention of sorts. She's going to have to run against some people, which is where people's theory of Michelle Obama comes in, Gavin Newsom comes in, Gretchen Wilner comes in. I don't know. But then there's also the question of that hundreds of millions of dollars that was given to Biden and Harris. Harris is the only one that can touch that, so that would be an interesting little thing as well. I don't know, man. This is so crazy. But Joe's right. Who wants to really see that? You'd have to be crazy. Isn't it funny how things change just over a few months? You'd have to be crazy to, this is where we are. Biden not looking good health-wise. She might step in as president, and she's running against Trump, and they're already fabricating polls that are showing Kamala up by, I think it was 4 points. Which is like, okay, sure, whatever. How many people did you poll since that announcement's been made. And tell me this, people out there, have you ever gotten one of these polls? I've never been privy to one of these polls before, where they're like, I'd just like to know your opinion. Who do you think, who are you voting for? You ever been walking outside? You ever got an email? You ever got a text message? Type stop if you don't want to hear from us again. You ever get one of those? I never got one of those in my life. Who are they asking? It's like MSNBC and all these places just pull the office. They're like, just go downstairs, ask finance, and then ask Joe Scarborough and his wife and whoever's in the break room. Just ask them. That's it. That's their poll. We got Kamala up by 4. It's ridiculous. Let's get into some serious hilarity with Tim Dillon talking about, I'm telling you, they've been ripping into Kamala for years on this show.
You think they get Kamala Harris to step down because she's rightfully, if he steps down, you know, until
Kamala Harris cannot say a sentence. It's almost, she's almost worse than him. She talks in like gypsy curses. When they ask her something, she'll be like, my grandma said that a hive of bees is still bees if you bury it. And you're like, what the is this bitch saying? Gypsy curses. That's how she speaks. The woman has no idea what's going on. But again, Washington inside, they're just like, you were a DA, you were a cop, you'll keep your mouth shut. Don't you want to be the first, whatever race you're pretending to be president today, Indian, black, whatever works? And she goes, yeah. But they got to get rid of her. What they should have done, if they wanted to win, George Soros should have backed up the money truck to Michelle Obama and said, listen, you are going to run because people like you. They like you. It doesn't matter, you know, about any of the conspiracies. Maybe.
Oh, man. The last time I played this clip in full, YouTube was like, oh, no, we can't have that. Oh, but he gets into some stuff. He gets into some big stuff. You know? You know what I mean? You guys, you know what I mean. Conspiracies? You know which one, right? Oh, gosh. Can't even talk about it, which is very odd, you know? Used to not be able to talk about the laptop. Then that came out to be real. I'm not connecting that like that. No, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in that conspiracy. I think it's silly. I think it's very silly. Okay? People that partake in it are just bigots. That's what it is. That's what it is, right? Maybe? I don't know. My buddy sends me some pretty telling pictures and information all the time, constantly. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to get him on the podcast one day. You'll see. And then the podcast will be banned from YouTube promptly, I'm sure. Donald Trump, honorable mention, Donald Trump talking to Tucker Carlson about Kamala Harris.
Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. And, it's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary. And she has...
Buses are a very tricky thing. The thing about buses are there are 4 wheels. That's... You agree with me? There's 4 wheels and they all spin in the same direction. And in a sense, the wheels are what make the bus go round. Now, you may see a bus on the street and you don't usually see them on the grass. Am I right? Oh, man. Kamala Harris, I gotta say, you know, Biden passed the baton on to the right person, you know, because listen, you can say what you want. It's been real fun watching Biden do his thing. You know, he comes out and he's just like, oh, I'm better than Trump. He's a sucker and a loser. He was calling people suckers and losers. You can't do that. He's a sucker. He's a loser. I saw him one time. I play golf better than he does. He's never seen me. I got a real handicap. I know I do because I park in the handicap space every single time. It's been really fun watching him do his thing. Here's a little bit more on Kamala Harris. This is Joe just talking about how, bro, let's just get into it.
It's a very strange time where I don't think people have a lot of faith right now in institutions, and I don't think they have a lot of faith in authority. I don't think they really believe that there is someone who is wiser than them, that has a grand plan, that's logical, that's workable, where they're looking out for all of us. So I think there's like a feeling of chaos that exists today that I don't think has ever existed in my life like this before. Even back during like the Bush administration, when everybody thought Bush was a moron, they still thought there's a good cabinet, and they're following all the checks and balances, even though they're probably extracting too much money, and there's probably a lot of cronyism and a lot of undercover deals and a lot of like no bid contracts with Halliburton and that kind of nonsense. He still thought they have things pretty under control. It's a very solid institution. Nobody believes that now. You see Pete Buttigieg and fucking Kamala Harris and Biden can't get a sentence out. You're like, this is madness. These people are utter fools. And these are the people that are running everything. And these are the people that are getting us on the brink of war with Russia. And I don't have any faith in them. And I think most people don't.
100%, which is why when I see these polls and I see all these posts coming out, even my wife, because, she looks up information for me, but she is starting to see it on her social media. She's like, I saw this post and it was just Kamala Harris dancing and laughing, and it was like some left-leaning person that she follows, and she's like, and the person said this is what's gonna get her elected as president of the United States. She's like, my wife's so confused. She's like, why would laughing crazily and dancing get you elected? Because that's what they're going on. That's what she has. They can't go back to when she was a prosecutor because it's terrible. It's horrible, especially when all they want is the black vote. They want the black vote, LGBTQ vote so badly. And believe me, people can't tell, but once black women say no, the LGBTQ community follows. They follow. They get a lot of their marching orders from black women. Believe you me. I know it sounds weird, but they really do. Not just with how they act, but with how they vote, everything. It's very, very interesting to see. So they're not going to be able to go back to her past and be like the humble beginnings. Because then if you go even further, before she was a prosecutor, you're not going to be in a black upbringing. You're going to be in this Indian upbringing. And Indians are great. They're absolutely amazing people. But that's not the demographic they're trying to appeal to, right? They're not trying to do that. They're trying to get black people. Well, you go further back in her past, she doesn't have a black upbringing. She has a very Indian upbringing. In fact, when she got sworn, I believe it was, I want to say Senate. She got sworn in to something. We're about to jump into Tucker Carlson ripping on her as well. When she got sworn in, instead of saying she was the first black senator, I want to say senator, but I think I'm wrong. And I just want to pull up the actual post. I've had a lot of impromptu pull-ups recently, and I apologize for it. But at the same time, I got to do it. Where is this guy? There's a guy who has been accused of being Tupac for a long time. And I always watch his posts. Oh, he's constantly talking about Kamala Harris. All the time. Oh, there it is. Boom. Beautiful. The first Indian American senator, now be the first Indo-Jamaican American woman president. He's always talking about this because he's really trying to, he's like a real pro-black guy, and he wants black people to realize, you're not voting for what you think you're voting for. She was sworn in, vice president, Capitol Hill. She became the first Indian American in the United States Senate. That's what she chose to be seen as. You understand what I mean? So if they go back far enough, it doesn't look good for her. And again, there's no shame in being Indian. Absolutely none. None whatsoever. This guy got accused of being Tupac. When Tupac died, everybody thought this guy was Tupac. Go check his face out. It's funny. He doesn't even look like Tupac, but still. But she doesn't have really a black upbringing. You know, when you're from, she's not even from Jamaica, right? But when you have parents, one parent that's Jamaican, you have another one that's Indian, you have this Caribbean background on one side, this Indian background on another side. She doesn't really have the black, the African American upbringing. She doesn't really have that. She doesn't have that experience really. So I don't know. They go back far enough. It's just going to be a lot of Indian culture, which is a fantastic culture, but not what they're trying to position her as right now. And then if you don't go back so far, you have her as a prosecutor doing terrible things, mostly to the black community. I mean, we're talking, again, listen, people of all races and colors and creeds get arrested. But when you're in California, the majority of them are going to be black people. And she did all this stuff to black people. When they were talking about 1,500 people, when they're talking about someone who was on death row, when they're talking about keeping inmates in longer than they needed to be in, this is all black people she did this to. Believe me, man, black people are going to wake up to this. There's no more telling black people they're Democrats and they just nod their head and move along. Tucker Carlson, ladies and gentlemen, talking about Kamala Harris.
Washington Post announced today that people who run the Democratic Party don't think Kamala, Carmela, whatever, the vice president, is up to it. She can't replace Biden. But she can still hang around and amuse the hell out of the rest of us. Here she was today talking about astronauts. This is so great. Watch.
Which brings me to May 30th, 2020. Bob and Doug returned to the Kennedy Space Center. They suited up. They waved to their families. And they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. They strapped in to their seats and waited as the tanks beneath them filled with tens of thousands of gallons of fuel. And then they launched. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. They did. Imagine your dumbest, most officious kindergarten teacher takes a ton of acid and then becomes vice president. She's not sober.
She's not sober. Oh my God. Listen, you know, it's just another person I can do impressions of. You know what I mean? I can't wait. I'm going to be doing it all the time. She's going to be president. Could you imagine? The thing, she's going to be in front, she becomes president, she's going to be in front of everybody. The thing about war is that sometimes it's somewhere else. And other times it's in your backyard. Yeah. And the thing about war is not everyone lives. And that, the American people, is what we're going to do. I'm making it so the Ukraine joins NATO tomorrow. That's where we're at. There's Russian ships 60 miles off the coast of Florida, and I'm going to make sure the Ukraine joins NATO. And then I'm going to give them $500 billion. And we're all going to be like, what? And she's going to be like, the thing about Ukraine is it's not Russia, but they sound similar and they look similar as well. And when they speak, it's basically the same language, but not. But not. Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Let's go. It's Tucker Carlson talking about Kamala Harris. There's so many people who have not a good opinion of Kamala Harris. And here's the thing for anybody who's watching this and they're a supporter of hers. They can't all be racist. They're not all just jerks. Go look into this lady. Go look into her past. And for God's sakes, go look into what she's done as vice president. You will not see much.
At that point, the Democratic Party will face a secession problem. If Joe Biden is reelected next year and then forced to leave office during his term due to disability or death, that means Kamala Harris will become president of the United States. And nobody wants that, not even her husband. In real life, nobody likes Kamala Harris. That's not an attack on her. In fact, it's possible to feel pity for someone who's so universally reviled. It is instead an observation of unchanging physical reality like gravity or photosynthesis. Nobody wants Kamala Harris to be president. No one will benefit. if she becomes president. So logic suggests there's going to be a change. It's going to have to be somebody else. And whoever that person is going to have to enter the race soon, before the election, after Biden drops out. Who could that person be? We don't know, obviously. This is all just guessing. But we do know whoever that is will have to have two essential criteria. He'll have to be as shallow, ruthless, and transactional as Joe Biden is, and he'll need to have flattery skills that are so polished and advanced they'd be considered superior even in the Saudi royal court. And there's only one man in modern America who fits that description: Gavin Newsom.
Man, just so you guys know, this is from last year. This is almost to the date a year ago. Tucker Carlson said this. Very tapped in gentleman. He knew exactly what was going on. I think everybody knew the writing was on the wall, or at least that it didn't seem like he could go through another term. But Tucker Carlson hit the nail on the head. I'm so hoping it's not Gavin Newsom. And the thing is, I know Trump can handle Gavin Newsom, because all you got to do is point to California. All you got to do is point to his past, the things that he did, his campaign manager, what he did with his campaign manager's wife. All you got to do is look into this guy, losing $24 billion. All you got to do is look into him. And there's nothing good. There's just nothing good. The law that he just passed, where I believe parents don't have to be notified if your child is trans. Your parents don't, you as a parent don't have to be notified. So a kid could have this secret relationship with their teacher or teachers because they want to go by pronouns, or they want to be seen a certain way, and that teacher, by law now, does not have to let you know what's going on with your kid. All you got to do is look into this guy. God, it's just so ridiculous. Let's end it off with a Joe Rogan clip. Of course, you know what channel this is.
I don't think anybody wants that. Nobody wants that. I just can't imagine the United States wants President Kamala Harris. I don't think anybody wants that. Nobody wants that. I mean, maybe some people would prefer that over President Trump, but nobody wants that. And nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody.
I'm just going to end it right there. Nobody wants that. And the people who are acting like they do, the people who are looking at Biden and Biden steps down and they just go, I guess Kamala, and they're just doing it lockstep, that's some of the saddest brainwashing ever. The saddest brainwashing that you could ever see. And I don't get it. And it's clearly people who don't look into people. It's the most wild thing in the world to me. But that's what we have going on right now. Biden's not looking good. Kamala is giving speeches and they're terrible. And people are acting like she is just so good and she's a prosecutor and this and that. And, listen, this is what people said before Biden had to debate Trump. Biden's gonna do. And then we saw what Biden did, and it was terrible. The same thing's gonna happen with Kamala. She's gonna have a debate with Trump, if she even is the nominee. Newsom or Kamala have a debate with Trump. He's gonna run through them. It's very, very easy for him to just run through them. Like Kamala, easier than Gavin Newsom. Kamala's not going to be able to stand up to this. And the only thing they're going to be able to do is say, well, Trump just has no respect for black women. And that's why he said all the things he said. He no respect. That's what it's going to be. That's the only thing they're going to have to cling to. And if it's Gavin Newsom, he's just going to point out every flaw in Gavin Newsom, and that's it. And Gavin Newsom's just going to smile with his veneers and his slick back hair. Guy looks like a Gotham City character. He literally looks like the mayor of Gotham City, or the governor of Gotham City. And Batman's just fighting all these gangs and doing all this stuff. And he's trying to find out who's the kingpin. Who is it? Tell me who your boss is. Tell me. And it's the one scene where Batman never kills anybody. He comes close, has a guy in an inch of his life. Who's your boss? Tell me. And he points, before he passes out, he points, and his arm goes down, and Batman turns around, and it's a big campaign sign. It just says Gavin Newsom. And he goes, then you're like, ooh. And then it cuts to a scene of Gavin Newsom just counting $24 billion. He's like, eh, they'll never catch me. Eh. Anyway, I got a lot of dumb stuff inside my head. Sorry. My apologies. My apologies. Anyways, guys, let me just wrap this up. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.